A little distracted. Just hold this.
I'm Trevor, this is Morgan, and we're going to talk about how we want to restructure the UNT online writing lab. But before we do that, we sort of have to think about all the other writing labs that are already out there. We sort of narrowed down our choices from sort of the lower tiered writing labs. They're all attacking the same problem the same way, and they're doing it in less effective ways than the top tier ones were, which are mainly our UNT and Purdue.
Okay, so UNT and Purdue both offer tons of features, tons of content, but Purdue has the prestige, they're better known, so they're technically higher up on this ladder, considered the OWL Universal Ladder. But what we want to do is be up here, much better than Purdue. And this is how we think we can do that.
We want to focus more on interactivity with the student. We want to help them become more independent with their learning, and that was sort of the goal when we were creating the site. Our mission statement was to help students become more independent in their learning through interactive content. We think that if they feel more confident in learning themselves, maybe the online tutoring sessions can help them with that in more specific questions, so sort of limit in between the different tutoring sessions. And then also the in-person ones can help people that have more immediate questions and help, so they can sort of deviate the necessary resources.
And so, according to Dan Rome, his book, The Back of the Napkin, when problem solving, we need to think of these three things: brand, content, function. As what we mean by content is what will the students know after visiting our site. So that's what they first see, the content we have on there, which leads to the function, which is how they'll interact with it. What they'll do, will they take quizzes? And then lastly, what they'll remember. Was the experience enjoyable? Did they learn anything? Was the site functioning well? Was it cluttered? Was it easy to use?
So keeping those three principles in mind, we're going to take a look at the Purdue site right now. Basically, it's a lot of text right there at the beginning. And one of the main things when you're going through this menu here is that they have the sort of basic categories here at the top, but the further you go into this menu, the more cluttered this menu becomes. It sort of becomes hard to figure out how you got there without starting all the way over and going back. Then it does offer a lot of resources, but a lot of those resources are available at the very beginning, so there's a lot of scrolling whenever you have to go through. So it puts a lot of effort on the student when they're trying to find a specific question.
And the videos that they have, the content, it's boring, it's not interactive, it's just very passive. And the videos, like the YouTube videos we saw earlier, they were just
PowerPoint with droll
voiceover.
voiceover.
And something else that I've had a problem with is if I want to find something on the site, it's very difficult to find exactly what I'm looking for. I usually end up Googling it and then going to the Purdue site.
And the thing is, their search function is actually just a retooled version of Google. So if you were to search here in Google, or search here on the OWL site, it will take you to Google's results page that has the link from OWL, and it has all the results there. So it seems almost like a roundabout way of how they're utilizing the search when they could just do it a proprietary way. And that sort of leads into the different functions that we think that Purdue could work on.
It's well written, it's easy to understand, but it's over cluttered, it's confusing to use, and the overall impression is, I don't know, what do you think?
It leaves them to their own devices when they were looking for an answer. So it just gives them more questions on how to get there.
So let's look at UNT's current OWL. What do you think of this one?
Right off the bat, it does offer a lot of scrolling, but it does have a consistent menu, which is good. So this doesn't change, and it has all the content right there at the beginning. But you do have to scroll through when there's a lot of subject or content returning one subject.
Something we don't like, though, is that the content is listed in PDFs, and you're not encouraging the students to participate in their own learning. You're just forcing them to read.
And also, just by looking at it, besides the heading, there isn't that much of a big connection between UNT and the other sites for UNT. So there's no sort of green association, there's no link back to the home site or anything. So it sort of just stands off on its own.
There's not much design to it at all. It's not engaging, it's not fun to look at, it's just necessary, I guess.
And also in terms of function, it's centered on the screen and only uses about 50% of it. So they could have widened the content and therefore would have shortened that scroll bar, but they're not utilizing the screen enough, And a little bit like what was with Purdue is that they're not utilizing their white space enough. They're trying to cram too much content within the borders they've already set themselves when they could be resizing it in different.
So let's take a look at what we think we can do.
Already ruined the twist, but you were at the site the whole time. There was a Prezi embedded in there.
Okay, so we think that once people come to the site, they're coming to the site for three main reasons, which would be lessons, appointments, and events.
With lessons, you're there to learn about and quiz yourself on certain English topics. So if you forgot what subject-verb agreement was, you can go in there and you can figure out the different uses and also quiz yourself about it.
And appointments, people use appointments, they want to know how to schedule one. Do I want an online one, or do I need to come into the auditorium? They need more information, and they want to possibly do it online right then themselves without having to call.
And then also there's events. They always send out an email occasionally when there's an upcoming workshop, say like there's a thesis statement workshop coming up. They utilize it through, or they send advertisement through email, but there isn't that much advertising on the site unless you were to search through that. So we think that if you were to advertise it more on the site, you can increase the interactivity with the students to come in there, and therefore it'll help them solve fewer of their questions in the future.
Let's take a look at lessons.
Now, if you were to go to the lessons on the original UNT site, it's going to have 6 different categories, and then all listed, it's going to have the different sections below those categories. So we decided we're going to group those content, and by grouping these contents, it sort of makes it a little bit more attractive on the page, and you can fit more content on there. So
It's less information per page, so you're not having to scroll through and try to find what you want. It's easy to break it up into categories. Then when we go to the lesson, you can pick, it could have each of the lessons listed under grammar. You can pick the subject-verb agreement. Or if you get lost, you're like, oops, I'm in the wrong category, you just click the back button, it'll take you back here.
sort of get around that whole fault with Purdue is that if you're to get too many menus, you forgot how you got there. Well, you always have an easy way back, and then you always have the original headings up here. So we can take any lesson we want. Let's go with subject-verb agreement.
All right, so this is what we envision each lesson looking like. It should all look almost exactly the same, just to be consistent, and that'll make it easy to use. You know how to use one lesson, you can use another. So we think you could start with a Prezi, in which we've embedded right here. And if students don't know how to use a Prezi, you could click that button, it'll give them instructions. And what I would do is I would keep it, make every Prezi almost look exactly the same, so it's, again, consistent, easy to use. And then they can just go through, get the information, there's an example, and then there's the next bullet, more examples. And then they just go through it until it says, are you ready for the quiz? Which is step 2.
All of this is the same content within that PDF. It's just the execution that's changing. So with the Prezi, you're taking the same information, but presenting it in an interactive way, and it's also a little bit more engaging than if it was just either just a PowerPoint.
It's not one block of text, you're making them read it and then go on to the next step. So it's not just assuming that they'll read through the whole thing. To get to the end, they have to actually engage with it.
And then also, you can have the quiz at the end. Every of the handouts, if you go to Writing Lab, has the lessons first and then has the quiz in the back. I don't know about you, but I can't do those because it always gives you an answer key. So instead of wondering what the answer is, I'm wondering why I keep turning back to the answer key every time. But with the Wondershare quiz creator, you can actually just repurpose all the content that's already on there because you can import the document from Word and then make it into a quiz. So if you were to start this, Oren, either those tags or this nail is or are used for hanging of posters. Which is the correct verb?
It is.
I got it. Incorrect.
Oh.
Two subjects, buddy.
Okay.
Travis, you do. My mom and my sister buys or buy new furniture every year.
It's by.
Buy.
I hope.
Correct.
Extra credit.
But you missed half of the quiz, so sorry you failed.
Oh,
you did.
There's the door.
That was just a short example of the quiz, but all of those answers were taken directly from the PDF document on there. With Quizmaster or Quiz Creator, you can create any sort of a quiz you want, and then also it'll be useful for teachers because at the end the student can email the results to a certain email address. Sorry?
That was my question.
You can structure the quiz any way you want, so there's different options you can put at the end. You can allow them to take the test again if they need to. You can have a time limit. It all depends on what you want to accomplish. And then you can either export it into a Word document so you can keep the handouts down in the lobby. You can import it into an email, or you can import it into a flash video, which is basically what that was.
And how much did it cost?
There's a 30-day trial, so you can see if that works, but the desktop version is $169. There's also a server version, but we recommend that's for teachers because it's a subscription service that increases based on the amount of students that use it, based on every 20 students. So if it was 20 students, it'd be $99. If it was 40 students, it'd be $500. So to keep all that server space, we recommend that teachers use that for the civic class, but for the UNT Writing Lab, just to use the desktop version.
So let's take a look at events, which is another, well, let's go to appointments first. This is